My name's Lad Dunfield, and I'm the pastor of the St. Andrew's Baptist Church, and I'd like to welcome you to Words of Encouragement. We have a special guest this week, Amy Liebscher, and Amy's kind of new to town. And Amy, when did you arrive in St. Andrews?
1 month ago to the day, actually, October 7th, yeah.
So you're new. You
Brand
did
new.
all of your quarantine and all of those things?
I did. I quarantined in Halifax and made my way over to St. Andrews.
You quarantined in St. Andrews. Oh, wow. Yeah. Now, you moved here from Vancouver.
Yes.
Okay. I met Amy a little while ago, and it was an interesting adventure. It was actually a month ago from today, from tomorrow, that she walked through the door of the St. Andrew's Baptist Church, and we got to know each other and struck up this friendship. And one of the things I found really interesting, Amy, that was the first time you'd ever been in a church.
It's the first time I've ever been in a church in my life, yeah. I was a little bit afraid to come in, walked by a few times, and finally plucked up the courage, came in, and I didn't set on fire.
No, you
and everyone
didn't.
was very kind.
Everyone was kind.
Yeah.
Excellent. You weren't raised in a Christian home.
No, I was raised in an atheist home and have never believed in God.
And so you yourself had never had any kind of a relationship with like a spiritual relationship with God.
Not at all, no. I was very, very much an atheist, and in fact had kind of a bad background, which made me quite angry
Okay.
to the idea of God. And
Okay.
so it's quite a shock that I've come to know him.
Your journey is kind of interesting to me because a lot of people become Christians through the influence of an individual or through someone in their life. But that's not exactly how it worked with you.
No, it's not. I was actually not looking for God. I actually was looking into truth for the last 3.5, 4 years, and digging around in politics and the occult, and just finding out that things weren't exactly as I had always thought they had been historically. And I started to notice that a lot of people seem to worship Satan.
Okay.
And I sort of ignored that for a little while. I thought, oh, I don't believe in that. That's silly, you know. Satan is like some
A
red
myth.
guy with horns. Yeah.
A myth
Yeah.
made up.
But it kept coming up, and I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And I started thinking, well, I wonder if so many people believe that he's real, if God might be real as well. So I did soften up to the possibility, but I sort of put it away and just decided that politics and the rich and the famous and the elite were more interesting to look into. And then one day God spoke to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now we hear people say that all the time, God spoke to me. But what fascinates me, like in my own experience when I became a Christian, somebody invited me to a meeting, and I remember sitting in the meeting and I turned to my wife and I said, if I could be as happy as that guy looks, I would be a Christian. And it was through that gentleman's speaking, and I remember the sermon. It was called Healthy, Happy, and Holy, and I don't remember anything else about it. I remember the title, and I remember he was such a happy guy. He just seemed so full of life. And that's the night that I became a Christian.
Yeah.
And I turned to Ruth and I said, I think I'm going to become a Christian. And I hadn't had any background either. And my wife says, oh, I will too, because she said, I'm moved by it. But you never had that experience of
No.
anyone kind of teaching you anything.
No, not at all. In fact, it was after COVID, so all of the churches were closed. And
We should mention, you've only been a Christian
since April. Yes, 7 months now.
7 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was really no other explanation, and I kept trying to think that it must have been something else. But what happened was that I heard something from within myself. It wasn't my own thoughts. It wasn't a voice that was audible, but something within myself said, I understand you're looking for truth. Here's the truth, if you'll accept it.
Yeah.
And then right at that moment, I had this awareness, and suddenly it was totally out of my character, but suddenly I thought, yeah, of course God's real. The Bible is real. Every word he writes in it is true.
Wow.
And I had never read it. I was so against religion, but didn't know anything about it. was
Yeah.
against all the stories of the Bible, but had actually never read any of them. So for some reason, I believed in that moment, and then started reading the Bible and got to the gospel and realized how much truth was actually in there and how much evidence there was.
Yeah.
And that's where my journey began.
So your whole journey just began by this inner voice speaking to you, God through the Holy Spirit speaking into your life,
Yeah.
and then going from there, you began to read the Bible.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because in my experience, it was the same thing. I walked out of that meeting that night, and I said to my wife, I said, I've got to get a Bible.
Yeah.
I don't have a Bible. And for me, it was a weird journey because I went and I opened the Bible to Genesis and I began to read. I got through Genesis and then I got into Exodus, but then I got into Leviticus and Numbers, and I just, what is this, you know? But you went to the Gospels.
Yeah.
So God led you right to the Gospels about himself.
Yeah, I started there, and then I was quite confused when I went into the Old Testament at first,
Right.
but I've just been led. It seems like the more that I've learned, I've just somehow, I'm not even sure how, get led to the truth that I'm looking for at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you read in the Bible, did you felt impressed that you were reading something that was right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. The more that I read, the more that I feel like it's backed up the truth that I felt in that moment on the first day.
And what's interesting, you never came with a precondition towards wanting to believe it.
No.
Like some people say, oh, you read the Bible and you believe it because you want to believe it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that way for you.
No.
You had no interest. In fact, I think when I was talking to you before, you said you looked into New Age, all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
And purposely, because of your background, had not looked into the possibility of Christianity.
That's right, yeah, because of my background, anything that had sort of an authority over me or a father figure was the last thing that I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I was looking for the truth. I didn't know what it was going to be. I'm completely surprised that it was Jesus Christ at the end.
Right.
But I was in a mindset that I was willing to accept whatever the truth was when
Yeah.
I got to it, but I didn't know that that's what it would be. No, it's the last thing that would earn me any social points
Yes.
in my crowd, you know.
You were part of, like myself, I lost every friend I
Yeah.
had, I have to admit. But a lot of it was my own
Yeah.
fault. I bugged everybody, and all my friends stopped answering. It was pre-cell phone. No one would answer their phones anymore because it was me just harping on them all the time. But I don't think you're the kind of person to have done that. But oftentimes, your relationship with God does put a division between yourself and people that you thought would be really close throughout all of this.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to deal with. And yet it's something, when you're searching for truth, you've got to come to grips with.
Yeah.
That not everybody is going to believe as you do or accept as you do.
Well, it's one thing that I noticed was that the gospel and Jesus seemed to be set apart from any of the other religions and any of the other belief systems that I looked into. I noticed that if you're into New Age, if you're into Buddhism, if you're into Native American religions, you get a lot of acceptance. People think it's really
Cool.
really great, yes, that you're becoming spiritual, but it's not that way.
No, yeah, it's really true.
Yeah,
Your baptism,
yeah.
I'm not going to get into it tonight, but it's on YouTube, and if anyone wants to go to YouTube, I think there's over 320,000 hits on your
349, I think, as of this week. Yeah.
350,000 hits
Yeah.
on her baptism. And Amy got baptized in the midst of I wouldn't say a riot, but a protest.
A protest, yeah.
Yes, and the police had to be in while she and some others were baptized. And that was kind of your introduction to Christianity, right?
It was, yeah, it's the most memorable baptism, I think, that a person could have.
I think so. Amy was watching baptism in our church a few weeks ago, and I remember you said, oh, so that's how it's done.
Right, yes, no police showed up.
No police showed up, no things thrown at you.
That's right.
No people yelling at you, playing loud music, and all those kind of things. Amy, you're going to be telling your story this Sunday at the St. Andrew's Baptist Church where you attend with us, and I'm really looking forward to it, for you getting into what exactly it was that brought you. There must have been a crisis or an experience or something that made you decide you were going to look for truth, or was it just happen?
Well, the moment that I became a Christian was very sudden, but the story that led up to it, of course, was about 3-4 decades long. So,
Yeah.
yes.
It was a constant search.
Yes, exactly.
And again, you had no precondition towards Christianity.
No, I'm probably against it.
The fact you had never been in a church
Yeah.
says something.
Yeah.
and it's just such a stunning turnaround for me, is what's happened in your life. And the fact that it wasn't that you were influenced by someone, or someone, met you at a vulnerable time, which people go, oh, when you're vulnerable, people can get you to believe anything.
Yeah.
But that wasn't true in your life. It was that God's just spoke into your life.
That's right. And I, for the first few weeks, kept going over and over thinking, did I dream that up? Or, was I influenced by somebody? And there was no other explanation. I had to keep coming back to that's what actually happened. That really was God that spoke to me. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Your story continues. You've moved to St. Andrews.
I have, yeah.
You're part of the community here. Your person works from home. And have bought a home in St. Stephen, I think.
St. Stephen, yeah.
And are part of the community, and we're really glad that you're here and all part of the community with us. When you go to church, I'm kind of interested in this. The only church you've ever been in is our little Baptist church here in St. Andrews. What were your expectations for church?
I had none. I mean, I suppose I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
But the community, St. Andrews, and the church have welcomed me with open arms. Like it's been a month that I've been here, and I was telling you earlier, it feels like I've been here for ages already.
Yeah.
Because I've just been welcomed.
Yeah, it's a great community.
Yeah.
And there's a great church community in St. Andrews, and a really great wider community of people that I know. We moved here 24 years ago, and we've never regretted a day of it. It's just been this wonderful, amazing place with interesting people and kind people and supportive people. And I think you'll have a really good time here. And I understand your mother's going to move.
She is.
This way.
She's coming in December, yeah.
Yes, so your
Yes.
mom will have moved up. Not to put you on the spot, maybe a question you don't want to answer, but what does your mom think of you making these steps?
She's supportive.
Yes.
But she's sort of on the fence. She's questioning, she's open, she believes me.
Yes.
I've actually got her starting to read the Bible a little bit.
Right
So
on.
she's sort of, leaning towards that direction. I think she's very supportive. She hasn't judged me, but sometimes I think she thinks I'm a little strange.
Yes.
Gives
Yes,
the
I think we all
sideways
get
glance,
that.
but yeah.
That would be quite a step for your mom, where she had no inclination towards anything Christian in her own life.
Yeah.
And that wasn't part of her culture, her background, her experience whatsoever. So it's kind of a neat thing. It's not only you, but your mother having this influence as well. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank Amy for being our guest. If you want to see all of Amy's testimony, you can go to St. Andrews Baptist Church on our Facebook page, and you'll be able to catch all of the testimony there. If you need to get in touch with me, Annie, about that testimony or about Amy's baptism, and we'll have that as well up on our Facebook page, a link to the YouTube channel for that, just contact me at ladd, L-A-D-D, at thebeggardanced, all one word, .com. I'd be glad to be in touch with you about anything that you need to talk about or would like to talk about. Thanks again for watching.